The phrase biodiversity refers to all living things, including plants, microorganisms, animals, and humans. According to scientists, there are around 8.7 million plant and animal species on the globe. The South African biodiversity economy includes enterprises and economic activities that are either directly dependent on biodiversity for their main business or contribute to biodiversity protection through their operations. However, as demonstrated by land degradation, ecosystem resilience loss, freshwater resource loss, intensification of the global carbon cycle and resulting global climate change, loss of fishing stock, and deterioration of air quality, the social economic cost of not managing ecosystem in sustainable manner could be very high that we'll be discussing in this slide, and also for future reference in South Africa.
Next is issue on biodiversity, which is illegal biodiversity trade. The illegal biodiversity trade is a major global problem that causes wildlife declines and undermines economy and livelihood. Biodiversity that we often see such as tiger, lion, leopard, elephant, and also plants. Illegal biodiversity trade is often unpredictable, involving fluid markets and clandestine crime. Our main focus here is on activities that are both associated with overexploitation of animals and officially unlawful.
First cause of illegal biodiversity trade is role of demand and price. So this is because illegal biodiversity trade is typically influenced by chains of consumptions and low participation has been proven to be minimal in many cases. So according to Duffy and Street Jones 2013, rather increased consumer income has produced a significant market for wildlife items. Wealthy industry economy continue to have serious legal and criminal consequences. So wildlife importers traffic agent issued a research in 2008 that analysed the driver of the unlawful vehicle. According to Traffic 2008 in Duffy and Street Jones 2013, wildlife trade and concluded that the surge in illegal wildlife tracking was directly related to region revenue growth. So that the first cause of illegal biodiversity trades. So moving on to the next cause of illegal biodiversity trade, which is role of scarcity of alternate. So this is because many rural locations where wildlife exists are devoid of economic activity and job prospect. According to Litsi 2015, commerce and organized crime frequently enrich local people, and illegal hunting and selling the bush meat provide a rapid cash income for those who have few other alternatives for a living. For example, some hunters may make about $100 for a single execution, which is close to the local per capita yearly income of $120. And hunters are among the richest members of the community. So that is the second point that cause of biodiversity trades. Okay, moving on to the next point, that cause of biodiversity trades. So there is a growing demand for fur, skin, and other economic value. So according to Wilcox 2020, wild animals are hunted for commercial use, such as skin, furs, tusk, meat, medicine, cosmetic, fragrance, and decorating. So poachers for their horns have destroyed 95% of African black rhino population in recent years. In today's pharmaceutical market, rhino horn sell for more than $15,000. This vicious loops of greed has been continual fuel for the poaching business, and it is one of the main causes for poaching. In 2014, the black market price for a full rhino horns was about $16,000 per kilograms, with some rumor of price as high as $100,000 per kilogram. So, this kind of animal species in particular are utilized to make a variety of form material for items like clothing, body treatment, and lipstick, among other things. So that's three major causes of the illegal biodiversity trades. Thank you.
Impact of illegal biodiversity trade. Illegal biodiversity trading has a several negative impact on human well-being and species conservation. Biodiversity loss is one of the most serious global danger that we face today, and it also implies a smaller genetic pool, and as a result, reduced resilience to illness of any sort. These are some of the impacts of illegal biodiversity trade. First is habitat destruction. Next is animals are suffering. And last is imbalance in the ecosystem. Habitat destruction. Illegal biodiversity trading adds to habitat destruction, which reduces the essential protected areas between human and wild species. Illegal traded specimens are also less likely to be sold or purchased in areas where sanitary standards are strictly enforced. This could increase the risk of disease spread. The biodiversity trade's unintended spread of infectious agent is not confined to human infection. It is also impacts pathogen in domestic animals and local wildlife. For example, monkeypox. Monkeypox was introduced to a local rodent species in the United States and then to people by importing wild African rodents from Ghana for the pet trade. Another example is African claw frog. The international trade in African claw frogs has spread a fungal disease now recognized as a major cause of the lost 30% of amphibian species worldwide. Future disease outbreak will have a greater influence on economy and food supply security that could lead in habitat destruction. Next impact is animals are suffering. Poachers' method of killing or capturing animals are frequently brutal, as well as how they handle are in violation of animal welfare laws. Many techniques of transportation and concealment are potentially harmful to animals. They could become sick, wounded, starve, or die as a result of these factors while en route. Live animal trafficking can result in high death rate for the specimen involved, especially if animals are improperly cared and treated. For instance, pangolin. Pangolin trafficking from Africa to China is difficult, especially if the animals are still alive. It is hard to transport live pangolins across long distance since they are difficult to keep in cage and easy to spot. Due to disease and filthy circumstances, live pangolins frequently die in transit to their final market. Many smuggled animals wind up in countries with insufficient or no animals' welfare regulation or standard of care. The illegal biodiversity trade is a severe and rapidly growing animal welfare issue that required an immediate action. Last but not least is imbalance in the ecosystem. Several animal species have significant physical influence on their surroundings, which contribute to the good functioning of ecosystem. A minor percentage loss in the number of common species can cause a major disturbance to ecosystem function. The consequences of the loss of some ecological processes, such as seed distribution and predation, may take decades to manifest. For instance, African forest elephant plays a crucial role in seed dispersion, consuming more seed from a wider range of species than any other big seed dispersing mammal. As a result, the forest carbon storing capacity may be reduced. Animals distributed the seeds of the majority of tree species in tropical forests. Hence, their extinction will have a significant influence on tree species diversity and composition.
For organization, Traffic is a Trade Records Analysis of Flora and Fauna. In-Commerce is a non-profit organization that works with a variety of authorities to combat the illicit wildlife trafficking in South Africa. Traffic is a major non-governmental organization that focuses on wild animal and plant trading in the context of biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. Across the world, the role of Traffic is improving wildlife crime and illicit trade responses. Their efforts are aimed at diminishing the illegal wildlife trade over time by raising the dangers and also lowering the incentive associated with trading in wildlife contraband. Hence, lowering criminal motivation and participation in illegal trade is fueling the poaching endemic.
Our mission and vision is to ensure that trade in wild and plant animals is not a threat to the conservation of nature. Traffic is a leading non-governmental organization working globally on trade in wild animals and plants in the context of both the biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. Every mission leads to the goal for the organization itself. Traffic have their own vision, which they are targeting to decrease the amount of illegal wildlife trade.
For issue that settled by Traffic is reducing the motivation for the consumption of illegal wildlife products. Unsustainable consumer demand for wildlife items is a major contributor to the global extinction of numerous species. Demand for rhino horn, pangolins, and tropical timber has recently pushed species for the brink of extinction in Asia. Traffic has been at the forefront of innovation in the field of social and behavioral change communication that collaborating with relevant partners on the number of projects aimed at specific consumers of threatened animals. For B, harnessing new advances in the fight for wildlife, the responsibility provided by technological advancement has fundamentally altered our way of life. The same can be said for poachers and wildlife traffickers who have used online platforms and modern technology to help them source, transport, and sell illegal animal items all over the world. To keep up with the growth of wildlife trafficking and trade, we are collaborating with partners to develop cutting-edge technologies and strategies to aid law enforcement in combating illegal dealers. The last one is keeping wildlife trade at sustainable level. Millions of users make their living from the wildlife trade and nearly 1.5 billion more consume wildlife goods and components on a regular basis. The trading and exploitation of wildlife products, whether fish, lumber, animal, or plant, is at the foundation of world economies. Unfortunately, wildlife trading is frequently conducted in a manner that jeopardizes the survival of wild species, degrades valuable ecosystems, and has a severe influence on the livelihood of those who are rely on them.
As we can see, the trade records of analysis of flora and fauna in commerce traffic has tried to give the best performance in researching the framework and indirect us to the causes, issues, and effect. Traffic has found in the impact at high level all strategies shown by foreseen by 2030 if it succeeds. The impact of higher level indicators where traffic are that are monitored included as the change in the ecosystem must functioning very well. As well as biodiversity, the example of wildlife itself has their own contribution in prospecting or trading the sector that will need to engage, because this report is actually showing that this is an indicator on annual basis or activity. Hence, the organization and others know the illegal biodiversity trade is harming the ecosystem, but still people are demanding their service or goods.